Hello, everyone. Welcome to our session on staying the course on digital transformation. My name is Prasad Gollapalli. I'm the CEO and founder of Trucker Tools. In today's session, we're going to learn a lot about how brokers need to adapt to technology. And more importantly, as you know, brokers in today's world depend heavily on their relationships with the carriers, their knowledge about moving the freight. While all of this is very important, but digitization makes a big difference in the success of the brokerage today in today's world. We have an amazing guest, Diana Bullington from Syfan Logistics. And we're going to hear on certain topics such as how to adapt to technology, have a technology strategy, how do you pick your vendors. With that, let's introduce our guest, Diana. Welcome to our session today.
Thanks, Prasad. It's great to be here with you. I am IT Director for Syfan Logistics. I have been in the transportation industry since 1995, started as a developer, went through some analyst years, and now I'm sitting in the IT Director position at Syfan Logistics. So I have been a McLeod super user for about going on 7 years now. Enjoyed that vendor and that relationship, so happy to be here. A little about Syfan Logistics. We are a brokerage company featuring full truckloads, do anything from food industries to automotives. So we have a wide range of different things that we're going to support along with expedited freight. I sit in a position of overseeing all of the IT going on at Syfan, including McLeod, as well as systems and other things inside of our corporate headquarters, because we also own a truck center. So my duties are very widespread and busy most days. So glad to be here.
Thank you, Diana. So for those who are not familiar with Trucker Tools, Trucker Tools is a software platform that connects brokers and carriers, and primarily for real-time visibility and digital freight matching. The whole platform is centered around our Trucker Tools mobile app. Today, Trucker Tools app has over 1 million truckers and over 140,000 unique carriers, and provides essential services to truckers as well, such as parking, real-time fuel, service centers, and so on and so forth. With that as the background, and now moving into our topic, this year has been real challenging for most of us. Because of COVID, the business has changed significantly, especially in the freight market. The freight volume has been up and down, changing lanes, and the capacity has gone from being soft to really tight. That brings a lot of change to a lot of you out there. Now, in addition to that, when you talk to brokers today, the top 3 issues remain the same. Poor visibility compliance. Most of the carriers that they use are one-load wonders, meaning they leave their system after moving a load, and still battling inefficiencies, whether it's in terms of making too many calls to cover a load or making check calls. Now, I want to go back to that visibility just in a little bit. Visibility has become an essential aspect in the last many years. That's primarily because shippers depend on visibility to improve their operational efficiencies. Now, during COVID, that has significantly changed or improved to the fact that today's world, shippers are demanding visibility with higher standards, because with restricted workforce, shippers truly need this to improve their operational efficiency. Now, before we move forward, I want to hear if Diana has any thoughts on any of these challenges.
When it comes to visibility, our customers expect visibility constantly. So to be able to do that, you've got to have the right vendors, obviously, with you. And during COVID, that has been interesting. It's been challenging, just from a freight perspective, as much as visibility. Getting drivers in and out of those receivers and shippers safely to the new protocols So it's been even more important that we knew where that driver was and where he was located at all times, because that's important to be able to get the protocol in place going into the next shipper receiver.
Thank you, Diana. So, our topic is primarily the most important carrier base in transportation that moves about 80% of the freight. Small carriers, mid-sized carriers, and owner operators. This is a very fragmented carrier base. Now, Diana, starting our conversation, what are some of the key things or key strategies that one could employ to really improve that compliance with these carriers, improve the carrier buy-in into your technology, more importantly, aggregate this carrier base and not fragment it?
With us at Syfan, we require compliance of our carriers and our drivers to be in the visibility. But with a lot of it, we do some incentives to help them say, okay, if you do this, it's a trade-off in a lot of situations of getting them on board and wanting to be compliant. One of the good things with the Trucker Tools apps and the tools that Trucker Tools has provided us, it doesn't just give them the ability to track, it also gives them other tools when it comes to fuel, doing check calls, doing just locating truck stops. So they're provided with more. That helps them get to buy in more, wanting that visibility and wanting to be there. They also know that, freight right now, they've got to be on time, or otherwise they're going to lose that freight. So they want the buy-in so they too can have a job and be working during this troubled times.
Thanks for saying that. It is the carrier education, like you said, and showing them that there is a value in technology. That leads us to, there are a lot of technologies out there. And one of the key things we are battling in these last few years is which technology to choose, and more importantly, how many technologies that you want your team to be adopting to, more importantly, your carriers to be adopting to. In our experience, what we have noticed is the more you push a carrier to use more technologies, the more fragmented it is getting. If you are sending a carrier to one platform to find freight, or another way to look at your freight, or at another way to send you the check calls or the location updates, or submit invoices, you are really giving a runaround for these carriers. So, at Trucker Tools, we have always believed in a unified platform that connects with your TMS, so there is less of a jump around for your carriers. Diana, your thoughts on a unified platform that creates a better carrier experience?
Just like with anybody in the current world, you have more apps than what you use. So the more that I can keep my drivers and my carriers in one place and give them the tools they need without having to go back and forth. You find that carriers or drivers, they don't want to download more apps. So keeping them into a unified platform is huge, and the visibility stays there. When they're used to a platform, it's one that they've got to buy in, one they love. So you've got to keep them in one place rather than making them go back and forth between many apps.
Thanks for saying that. And I think it is looking at what the carrier can do to eliminate this app overload. We were talking to a few industry analysts, and everybody agreed to that the app overload in carrier community, especially the small carrier community, is pretty serious today. Just a quick update on our own tracking product. Syfan is one of our customers. Today, Trucker Tools tracking gets an average of over 70% to all our brokers that use our tracking. Customers like Syfan that use our tracking consistently get over 90%. Now, Diana, in your experience, you guys didn't just start at over 90%, but you have improved your visibility compliance. Would you share some of your strategies on how you got the carriers to adopt?
Sure. At Syfan, we require our drivers to be tracking. In fact, we go as far as to possibly put a communication fee on top of them if they do not. We shoot for 80%. We prefer 90 to 95, but 80% is realistic. You're going to have those one and offs where you've got loads going in places where there's not coverage, because no matter tracking, satellite, whatever it is, you're going to hit those spots where you can't get that driver with us by phone. The other thing that we have got a big buy-in in is being able to hook in with our ELDs. Getting satellite tracking off those trucks is a much better way to track them. It shows us better where they're getting, and that's one thing that Trucker Tools offers as well. They can hook into those ELDs, which includes the compliance, which means you're not limited to just that cell phone GPS. So it definitely helps to get us higher percentages and better tracking.
Thank you. And on that same thing, if you're a broker out there, you're working with carriers, one of the things that we are consistently hearing is, I don't think carriers are opposed to being tracked. What carriers have frustration with is if they are told to use one technology on one load, and tomorrow if they're moving another load with you, having to use another technology, and a third day, another technology. That's where I think the carrier's frustration comes from. If, as a broker, if you can minimize that or eliminate that and go with one tracking solution with that carrier for all your loads, I think that would really help that carrier adoption. Two, in today's market, all the visibility vendors understand this, that even though your shipper might be using a specific vendor for aggregation, you don't have to have all that particular technology. Your tracking vendor can integrate with, in most cases, they are already integrated. With Trucker Tools, we are integrated with whoever is your shipper aggregator. So we could immediately push your visibility data back into those aggregators for those shippers. So that eliminates I would say, the resistance points with your carriers. Diana, our next topic on this is digital freight matching. Again, this is a touch point you do with your carriers. I'm going to take 1 second to just set a stage for what Trucker Tools does for our audience. At Trucker Tools, our digital freight matching, the goal of our digital freight matching is to reduce cost of covering load. Now, we don't believe that there is one size fits all. Most of the brokers are used to calling a carrier or sending emails and other ways to match the loads as a primary source. On the further end, most of the digital brokers believe that everything is automated. With Trucker Tools, we actually believe that there is no one size fits all. And so our digital freight matching has all of this, but in a better way. So starting with automation, any load that can go through your automation, it is quickly moved into that channel, and then eliminating or reducing the number of calls that your brokers would have to make or carriers would have to make to get a load from you by using artificial intelligence and other means to really put the right load between the right carrier. Now, with that background, Diana, how cost of covering the load has been painful, especially with capacity crunch that is even more painful. What are some of the strategies that you have adopted at Syfan?
We look at ways to, how do you automate this? How do you make that cover that freight more frequently, quicker, and mostly how do you get the right truck? So with some of the Trucker Tools products, such as Smart Capacity, my brokers who are sitting on the floor can easily see what freight we have and match that to backhauls, trucks that are already there or trucks that are coming in from other places. So you can quickly see it. And the same point, though, when the carrier goes into their app, they can also see what freight matches where they're currently at. So they can pre-book or do a backhaul back from where they're going into and getting back out, because the backhaul freight is your biggest variable that you want to try and do it as automatically as you can. With the quoting feature inside of Trucker Tools, they can find that load, they can submit a quote into us, And then the process of my brokers on the floor can begin to talk back and forth with them. So you still get that customer service of being able to talk to them, but they've been able to do some matching on their own without that phone calls happening. So your communication is made into a smaller footprint than what it originally was, which is huge, because the smaller that footprint, that means the more freight you can cover and the better matching you're going to have with that freight.
Thank you, Diana. And on that same thought, I agree with you. Just putting another load in front of the truck or the carrier, even while they're moving the current load, has been one of the amazing strategies to really keep that carrier going. From a carrier point, today carriers are battling a lot of factors. One is, we all know that the number of loads that they're moving per month or per week has reduced slightly because of COVID. They can't just get in and drive the truck as they used to before. The appointment times are a little tighter now. Because of that, carriers have hard time really squeezing their revenue. And so helping them get that next load without having to wait for or go online and search for it, or making 20, 30 calls, is a huge advantage to the carrier also. So if you're a broker looking at ways to help the carriers, start doing that when you're loading a truck up front. Think about where the carrier is going, see if you have a reload coming out of that market. Put that load in front of the carrier. And what we do at Trucker Tools is, we just don't put your second load in front of the carrier, but we tell them what are the various options in the market that they're going. Let's say you have 2 loads coming out of that market. We have market intelligence to tell them which load is better. So we're not just putting your next load in front of that carrier. That should help the carrier pick a better load. So in times like this, those things will make a big difference. Now, moving into that next plan, Diana, if you're talking to a broker today, how would you suggest them, or what do you think they should look at as a step-by-step plan to really execute a technology strategy to improve? Because most of the brokers, the biggest hurdle they have is the fear of adopting to technology. They look at technology as a beast, but you and Syfan have done an amazing job of embracing technology, more importantly, innovating it constantly. So what are some of the suggestions for adopting to a good plan and keep that rolling?
When I look at a vendor, I look at someone who I can partner with, someone who is concerned about where we're sitting, what we're doing, and how we're doing business. Every broker does business differently. So you've got to have some platform that is versatile enough that you can almost make it look like what you want it to look like, but at the same time is at ease of use. If it is a technology that is too widespread, too hard to use, my sales are not going to use it, your carriers are not using it, your drivers are not going to use it. So you've got to be very careful that you are implementing technology, but it's in a platform that looks good. It has multiple uses. And is with a vendor who is on the cutting edge. They're leading edge. They're looking at ways to improve themselves. They've got to constantly be on the lookout of what's the next thing that's going to be coming up. Technology is very fast. It moves quickly. Staying up is very hard, especially for a broker, because we're into sales. We're trying to sell loads. But at the same time, technology can help you sell. And you've got to look at what is your best thing that can help you sell that load without introducing too much technology at one point. Because you give them on overload, they're not going to use it. We have found that with past things. When we introduced Trucker Tools and Smart Capacity, and we did a piece at a time. We gave them this piece, and then so have you seen this? Following up, okay? If you introduce a technology, you also want to have follow-up and training and show them how to use it. Bringing that vendor and let them have some one-on-one time with that vendor. Let the vendor see how they do business. So it's important that you involve. You got to have buy-in of your people and buy-in also with your carriers and your drivers. Otherwise, it will not be used.
Thank you, Diana. And I like the way you said this. And I remember, talking to you and Greg the first time when you've selected Trucker Tools, the keyword that you both used is you wanted to see the vendor be hungry to improve. And I think that is an amazing and an important thing, because today, if a broker out there is looking for technology, look for partners that have that hunger, that are constantly focused on adding more or improving their technology. But more importantly, you as a customer should be part of that roadmap, because that is what drives that product. Because a technology vendor might think they know everything, but I'm going to be honest, we don't know all the answers. You as a broker or a customer, you know what you want from that technology. So that's an important thing. The second thing that you said is that relentless pursuit to make it easier for the carriers. Because I think carriers are smarter today. They know how technology works. More importantly, they are comfortable using technology. So a technology out there should make their life easier, not make them jump through a bunch of hoops to get one thing done. And with that in mind, if you are focused on really helping that carrier with a value, have a conversation with that carrier. I mean, tell them how this technology will help them in day-to-day job. If a technology like digital freight matching can help them get another extra load a month, that is revenue for that carrier, because that is value to them. Or if it reduces them from jumping to 1 to 2 or 3 systems, that's work that they can focus on moving more freight or improving their own business. Those things will help them, and I think those true values the carriers are demanding as well. With that, as we come towards the close of or towards the end of our conversation, Diana, we've touched on a few things, especially the game plan of how a broker should adopt to technology. We also looked at how technology is making an impact. The one big question is, most of the brokers, when they look at technology, they also have this mindset of, let me wait it out. Let me see what technology is more mature. What we have said always is the old mindset of let the technology mature is somewhat gone out of the window now, because technology is changing so fast. And as a broker, your requirements are also changing so fast. So adapting to technology and forcing it or influencing it to meet your demands is a better strategy compared to waiting it out on the sidelines. Because I think, when you wait, it is harder to catch on to it at a later stage, because you're losing ground on some of the data that you could really benefit from today and build on it. Diana, your thoughts on this?
I would have to agree. We've got to stay on top of it. We've got to move. You got to have strategy to move carefully, aggressively, without doing it too much. The big tools that we're looking at right now are, what are your analytics? You've got to look at analytics. Besides with the booking and the covering and getting that freight, you've got to make sure you've got the best carrier. How are your carriers rating up? Looking at the analytics side of things, are they on time? Are they they're running late? Because that's going to tell you which carriers to use and which carriers not to use. So as you're looking at technology, building in those analytics is another big key thing of what's going to be happening. And as we look at vendors in the future or technology future, being able to have our data right in front of us and know what's truly happening is going to be a key in keeping those relationships strong with our carriers.
Thanks for saying that. And Diana, you've been in this space for a long time. You have seen the technology curve. Like you said, you've started as a developer many years ago, and you have seen the cycles go through. What we are noticing is the time it takes to innovate something has been reduced significantly. And I think we've already moved away from technology revolution to a data evolution. Like you said, analytics are truly driving the matter today. In a very simple use case, if you are a small carrier out there, let's say you're in Atlanta and you have a load that takes you to Chicago and another load that takes you to Dallas. With today's data, you can look at these two loads and compare which load will get you into a better market. So you have a better reload ability coming out of that market, and hence you are moving more loads and a more net profit, which is not quite feasible many years ago. And now, I mean, if you have two loads, it's easier to compare, but if you have hundreds of thousands of loads, the complexity is pretty high. Carriers have those tools available. I mean, digital freight matching tools. I can speak for trucker tools, but we have those tools available for carriers. Likewise, we have those tools available for brokers. Now, taking advantage of these things will put a broker or a carrier ahead of the game. And that is what makes the biggest difference. And so, Diana, as we wrap up this call, any other closing thoughts you have for our audience?
Don't be afraid of technology. I think that's one of the things as brokers, we've done hands-on for so long, and we've done it one-on-one phone calls, that sometimes technology is a fearful place to go. We've got to get past that fear, because technology is where we are. Because what we found at Syfan, it's not just technology to help us run our business. It also means people that want to come to us as employees. So it goes beyond. You've got that technology. It's not just to help you get freight and to book freight, but it's also to keep you on the edge of those employees that want to come and work for you. So technology plays a game on both sides of it. It gives you good employees. That also gives you good carriers. It helps fill in those gaps to where your carrier pool is almost smaller. It becomes carriers that are truly loyal to you because you've given them the tools and the technology so they can run their business as well. Because again, they're about carrying that load and getting paid for it. So you want to get everything in front of them to help them do that to the best they can, while you in turn are running the best brokerage that you can run.
Thank you, Diana, for sharing those thoughts. If you have any questions, please reach out to McLeod staff or Trucker Tool staff or Diana. We'll be more than happy to answer your questions. Thank you all for taking time to join us in this session. Good luck, and hope the rest of the year is more successful. And it's both in business and personal life for you.